Guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're back at it, unfortunately, for like the billionth fucking time with another teacher who is inappropriate with her students. I don't know how it is that I feel like weekly this keeps fucking happening. And like I always say, this has been an issue for a long time. It's just that now things are coming to light, which in its own way is positive, but I just don't understand. I don't understand. Recently divorced teacher allegedly sexually assaulted student and sent explicit videos to another. Molly Verkamp most recently taught at Walton Verona High School in Kentucky. Not to be nitpicky, but I'm about to be nitpicky. Recently divorced, like, I get being specific, but what does that have to do with anything? Because being recently divorced might justify why you have a rebound. It doesn't justify you taking advantage of a power dynamic that exists between a teacher and student inherently. So I don't know like why the recently divorced is even brought up, because it doesn't explain or excuse anything. Am I missing something here? A former Kentucky teacher faces charges of rape and sodomy after authorities claimed she had sex with 17-year-old student she taught in years prior. Detectives began an investigation last year after Walton Verona school officials reported that Molly Verkamp, 27, was sending sexually explicit videos and text messages to an 18-year-old student, according to the Cincinnati Enquirer. However, during the course of the investigation, Verkamp allegedly revealed she had sexual relationship with an underage student at a school she previously worked at, according to a release from the Boone County Sheriff's Office. The thing that frustrates me the most about all of these cases, and the thing that most of these cases have in common, the teachers are often quite young, in the sense of a lot of the times the age gap between them and the student isn't that massive, like 10 years, which doesn't change anything, but I've noticed this trend. So they're not much older, and also they're all typically conventionally attractive. And these two things, in my mind, are the worst part of it, aside from obviously the abuse, duh. But this part is so significantly terrible because certain people, maybe the people in court, won't see past, oh, this like young, pretty woman hit on a student, and they'll put it in those kinds of terms to kind of belittle the victims, because as we know, male victims often aren't taken seriously, or they're going to be people saying, oh, they should have enjoyed it. I would have liked that when I was their age, or, you know, stupid shit that just doesn't apply. It's abuse. We're not having this argument because it's abuse, period. The fact that they're young and pretty oftentimes just fucks everything over, because the whole case turns into, how could such a pretty young person do something so terrible? You know, kind of like people believe that real life is like fairy tales, like there aren't plenty of beautiful criminals, like there aren't plenty of ugly good people. That sounds really mean, but you know, I'm just saying, just because they don't see devil horns or a woman who looks deranged, they automatically think, oh, it's impossible that this young, attractive woman did something wrong. And that pisses me off greatly. I do want to point out, one of the students was 18 years old, which, yes, that is legal, but again, morally and ethically, there still is a power dynamic there, because you are in a position of power in comparison to that person. So automatically, I don't think that's healthy in the least. Not for either parties. Verkamp admitted that she knew the age of the student, who was 17 years old at the time, and that being a teacher at the same high school makes her a person in a position of authority, the Boone County Sheriff's Office said on Facebook. Despite that, her relationship with the 17-year-old evolved from sending and receiving messages to having sex with him at her home in Boone County. So like, she realizes that she's in a position of authority, and yet she's still kind of like, fuck it. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. And it's also like, if you realize that you are having certain types of thoughts about an underage student, you need to, first of all, get therapy, but also be in another profession, another career. Maybe you should teach the elderly, or teach people who you won't be attracted to. I don't know. But it's also the question of her actively realizing that this isn't even the case of, I didn't realize what I was doing was wrong. It was like from the get-go, she's like, yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. And aside from that, it's just like, having age preferences, obviously involving consent. Having an age preference of being a woman who likes men that are younger than her, fine. Date someone that's younger than you. above the age of consent who's not a student. You can do that. Age gap relationships are things. Whether I approve of them or not is a different story, and there's always context to be added there. You're a young 27-year-old woman. If you want to date a younger 20-year-old man, for example, you can do that. But why does it have to be a student, first of all, and then why do you have to go for someone who's under the age of consent? That to me indicates that there's a bigger problem, starting with the letter P, ending with edophilia. And I know pedophilia is the umbrella term. It's essentially ephebophile. Is that the term? I can never remember, but nonetheless, being that interested and sexually attracted to someone under the age of consent, knowing that it's wrong, being in a position of power, and you still do it, I have no words. Just only insults. She also allegedly admitted to sending explicit messages to the Walton Verona student, which was the initial focus of the investigation, Cincinnati area outlet WCPO reported. She was taken into custody last Thursday on counts of third-degree rape and third-degree sodomy, according to the River City News. At the time of her arrest, she was working as a yoga instructor and had divorced her husband in December 2019, according to marriage records obtained by the Inquirer. She was booked into Boone County Detention Center at the time of her arrest, but is currently not listed as an inmate there, according to a review of online jail records. Verkamp has not yet entered a plea, and court records do not reflect an attorney authorized to speak on her behalf. Again, being recently divorced, I don't know if they're just trying to frame the situation, but again, I don't really see the point of mentioning that at all, because nonetheless, like I said, having a rebound because your recently divorced or relationship ended, yes, that doesn't have anything to do though with the abuse that occurred here. So I don't know if they're trying to say that because of her marriage ending, she was not mentally stable, or she made bad decisions due to, you know, maybe like emotional trauma. I don't know what they're going for here, but unless you're going to explain why it's relevant that you're bringing up the divorce, I don't understand why it's relevant in this case. Like, it doesn't justify pedophilia, my dude. Aside from that, she has to be put on a sex offender registry, right? Because this person should not be allowed to be close to anyone under 18, and even 18-year-olds apparently. She also preys on them. So I don't know how this case is going to end, but I unfortunately have a very strong feeling that it's going to be the very typical slap on the wrist of 3 years maybe, and then watch her serve like 10 months and then she's out and everything's good again. I know I harp on about this a lot. I know I apologize, but the double standard has to end. I'm losing my shit at this point. The double standard has to end, because if this were a male teacher, we all know that it would be very different. If this were a male teacher, even if he were conventionally attractive, we all know, I think deep down, we all know that the response would have been very different, because then the word pedophile is thrown around. If you notice in a lot of these articles, they don't really use the terms that they might use with men. So you can't call abuse a relationship. It wasn't a relationship. It was her being abusive towards the 17-year-old, because again, the 17-year-old couldn't consent and therefore couldn't consent to a relationship, and therefore there was no relationship. But the verbiage used always paints a different story between men and women, which I think is a really big part of why women are seen as almost impossibly pure, to the point where women cannot be criminals. I'm just mad. Overall, I'm just mad. I have goosebumps because of how much this pisses me off. Anyway, you can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree that there is this double standard? Do you see it? Have you seen specific examples where you can really compare and contrast two very similar cases with a male teacher and a female teacher and see the different treatment? If so, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always. Let's get right into the fan art.